Well, two games in this window. The first one ends no goals between Canada and Iceland. They will have one more game to go to end off 2024 as we welcome you back into our One Soccer studio. Andy Petrillo alongside Jordan Wilson. We're also joined by Amy Walsh. A lot of new faces in this window, a lot of well-known faces not due to injury. So when you look at this game as a whole, Amy, what do you make of this draw against Iceland?
I think it was a little bit disappointing. I think you look at big picture, especially we talked about that pregame, that you want to give these new players, these new faces, this new talent an opportunity to see what they can do, not only in camp, give them a taste of the level of what they need to go back to their clubs and work on, but in game and see what they can do and see how they link up, see if they can develop partnerships. And we just didn't see that. We saw Prue, who came in, notice the pronunciation, you guys, the pressure's on for you later, gets her first cap. So that's great, but we don't see any other players make their debuts. So I would have loved to have seen Okeke come on for Zadorsky, who looked tired towards the end of that match. I would have liked to have seen Anaya Rose debut across the front line. But I think overall, and I think we'll get to this, Jordan, I think the substitutions did make an impact, and I think that's my biggest takeaway.
And look at the difference as well, just in body language and what's being said post-match, because you can see Iceland very celebratory here. I mean, this draw is a good result for them. The Canadians, of course, looking disappointed here, Jordan, and we'll get into some of their chances as well, because the Canadians were the ones who had a lot of chances, just weren't clinical in that final third.
I think it has to do with the match itself. In terms of Iceland, I think they stuck with their game plan. Like, they defended well. It seemed to me that they ran more and were more compact when they needed to be. I think with Canada, you just look at the front three specifically and how they attack. And I've been talking about this for a couple of years now. It's just what is their identity going forward. Looks like a crossing team. Were there crosses today that were quality? You can maybe say at moments, were there enough bodies in the box? I said that at halftime. It didn't seem like that going into the second half. So who are the three that Canada should play? Who are the best three? Who are the finishers? All these questions that you have about the attack, you want to gain some knowledge and some feedback in these matches. I just feel like today wasn't one of those days. So that's why for me it's a bit underwhelming. Want to see players come in to Amy's point. Like a Nia Rose would have been great to see. Okeke would have been great to see as well in the back. Even Geneva, Hernandez-Gray would have been nice to just play these teenagers and give them a little bit of opportunity. Not for the whole match, could have been 10, 15 minutes, just to get them acclimated. Maybe Sydney Tai is gonna do that in the next match and play them a little bit more. But we saw faces that we normally see, and it just didn't really give the match the same vibe that it could have.
Well, when there are clean sheets, obviously the people who are happy there are goalkeepers and defenders. So I guess it's really no surprise when we go to our Gatorade performance of the match that it's going to be Jade Riviere for you.
Yeah, for me, I thought she had a great performance. I think down that right side, specifically in the first half, I know Amy touched on the left side, the combination play, but Gilles pass out to the right back. She was just sound in terms of, you could see what it is when a young player goes abroad and does well for their club and is able to stay healthy. I know that's a big part for Riviere in her career. The fact that now she's just in that shop window and she can get those reps in and out. But tonight on that right side, I thought she was great. You know, Lawrence for me is one of the top players for this team, and I love her down the right. But Jade Riviere made a claim tonight to start her and make that spot hers.
You also really liked, if we're going to continue speaking about defenders, Amy, you liked Vanessa Gilles' game.
I did. I think that in the absence of Akeisha Buchanan, who has such an enormous presence on that back line in terms of her leadership, but also in her play defensively, but also in the way that she instigates the attack, I think Gilles fully took the reins. I think you saw it a little bit from Zadorsky, but I think this is what Gilles has done, you know, playing Champions League, playing at a team and surrounded by top quality players at Lyon. That's what she brings back to the national team every single time, is there's an uptick in her play, and she seems to imbue that in the players around her, at least on that back line. So to your point, Andy, I think collectively a lack of jump and energy individually, but also collectively. But I think for the defenders, you're thrilled with that, and also the combined play of D'Angelo and that first cap for Prue. They got to love that.
Yeah, so let's look at some of the substitutions that did come in. Maybe not the young players, fresh faces that you were hoping to see as well that are in this camp. But we did see Olivia Smith get in, and we did see the captain, Jessie Fleming, come into the game as well in that second half. Amy, how do you think they changed the complexion of things?
I think they gave them that much needed injection of energy, because everybody was flat. It was a little bit disjointed. We talked about that left side where there seemed to be an understanding, there seemed to be a cohesion, at least going forward. But I think because the press was a little bit hesitant, I think structurally, Canada didn't really know how to defend as a unit. And I think especially in possession, I think you saw Smith come on, was hungry, was aggressive going forward, and from a deeper lying playmaking perspective, you saw Jessie Fleming come in, want to get on the ball, and start to dictate play, and that was, I think, what was lacking of their play in the first half.
Olivia Smith, for me, shows, Jessie Fleming was great as well, but shows why she's going to be needed in such an attacking role in the future for Canada. It's because her directness. Like here, just skip by one player, got a bit closer. I know that one's a stinger when you get the studs on the top of the foot, but the fact that she's shooting from outside the box. Did we have a shot from outside the box in the first half or in the second half? Until Olivia Smith gets on the pitch, right? Everyone's waiting, inching in, trying to get crosses, but she's looking at spots where she's 25 out and trying to be threatening. So I like that you pair up as well Fleming with that sub, and you have Olivia Smith, because Fleming is someone who wants to play the ball forward, and Olivia Smith is someone that wants to be in the pocket and drive. So I thought those two subs really changed the game, and people started to breathe and to really drive after they came on.
A sub by necessity because of an injury. Sabrina D'Angelo was the starting goalkeeper in this one. We saw her make a save. There was a collision. She finished off that first half, but clearly it was very evident she was not going to come back on. So we do have Lucienne Prue, who comes on in, makes her debut for the national team as well. So she gets our all-state save of the match. Now, it is a wee bit of a giveaway, Amy, but you know what? Give her credit here, because then she bails out her own mistake and her team and says, wait a second, I'm going to drop the needle here and make the save. What did you make overall of just her coming on in and getting her first cap?
Yeah, it's not a misnomer. She sets it up through poor distribution and creates the save of the match, but that's not what you want to do to make your mark when you're getting your first cap, and especially when you know the depth chart is really competitive. You've got Kaylin Sheridan, you got Sabrina D'Angelo, who is hard done by again, in a handful of starts that she's been able to get across her national team career. She seems to be plagued by these little injuries or knocks over the course of play that let her, she gets subbed out at halftime. But I think Pooh comes in maybe a little bit nervy. I think you certainly saw it there, and capable of better, but bailed Canada out when she needed to.
Pooh.
She's giving us, lessons on pronunciation.
I tried my best, 8 out of 10. I love the fact that you gave a little giveaway. I just graded myself. It's Pooh?
He did, he graded his...
Yeah, 8 out of 10.
I know.
Anyways, hey, we'll talk about it another time. I thought that when you do a giveaway like that, you lose your cool for sure. The fact that she stood brave and made the kick save, yeah, fantastic.
All right, no goals in this one. 0-0 is the final score between Canada and Iceland. They do have another match that'll be coming up on Tuesday against South Korea as we bring you the full-time stats. So both of them with 4 shots on target. And you can see that Iceland they turned it around a little bit more in that second half. But again, the Canadians still kind of getting the best of them in other categories, except we talked about this at halftime. So a total of 6 offsides for the Canadians, right? They were just lacking with that clinical finish in the final third, and then many times you were left to wonder what could have been, especially with some of those offsides and just misjudging Iceland's backline there and their timing as well when it came to their own passes. We have more coming up on Matchday Live here on One Soccer. Stay with us.
Who's driving?
Felix.
Susantia!
Their safety is important, especially when you can't be there. It matters to you. It matters to us.
What makes a Burnbrae egg a Burnbrae egg? For generations, we've put more goodness in, so you get a whole lot more out of every single delicious egg. A lot goes into a little at Burnbrae Farms.
I wanna run back to you. All I wanna do is run back to you and make my dreams come true. The only thing I ever do is run right back to you.
When the stakes are high, only the TELUS 5G network delivers.
What you doing up there, buddy?
Observing, helping. You could take note.
And the elf costume?
What about it? Need a nutcracker? Oh, this one goes to 11. Yeah. Fuzzy, they'll love it. Susan, that green really makes your eyes pop.
Need help with decorations?
It's a bit much.
Access Storage, proud partner of Canada Soccer and the women's national team.
Degree, 72-hour non-stop protection. Antiperspirant with motion sense. Tested to the limit. Degree, keeps working when others stop.
Next up for the Canadian women final game of 2024, it'll be against South Korea. That's Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, right here on One Soccer. They played to a 0-0 draw against Iceland right now as we welcome you back in a Match Day Live. Andy, Jordan, and Amy with you. And I hate to sound like a broken record, but we know that Cindy Tai is the interim coach for just these 2 games. She's made it clear that she is happy being the U20 and University of Dalhousie coach. So we know that the search is on, Amy, for a new head coach. But how, I guess, in many ways, frustrating can that be for players where there seems to be positions here that players can play for? There's very little positions that are absolutely locked in. How do players approach these kinds of windows?
Yeah, you have to see it as an opportunity that's there to be seized, because there's no clear identity. For sure, there is within the culture of those players and that team. That's solid. We know that it is, but there's the looming question of who the head coach is going to be. Are you going to be a player who's favored? Do these performances matter? Of course, they all matter, the pride of pulling on that jersey, but I want to see players come Tuesday go out there and express themselves, play with a certain amount of freedom, because we didn't see that today. To me today, it was a certain amount of restraint. And I don't know if that because it was a little bit of hesitancy, like what is a lack of clarity perhaps in the game plan? I'm not sure. It's just our best guess. We can speculate at this point, but within whatever that is or whatever is dictated on the day, you can see a player shine. And I think we didn't really see that today. We didn't really see any players go out there and stake their claim on that starting position for this next cycle.
Yeah, the overall question, who's the front three? Who's the starting three?
Yeah.
Like you mentioned it, right? Like you look at, it's changed throughout the years, and then with injuries, it's tough. I feel like whenever Canada had a stride or had a real security of the front three that they liked, maybe a player got injured or was out of form, and then it was like the next person up mentality. You look at the front three today, you look at Becky, Prince, and look at Leon as well. And I understand maybe this is a match where there's no consequence, it doesn't mean as much, so players weren't really at 100%. But you're looking at those three, and I could sub out all of those three and put in a new three going into the match against South Korea. So who wants that spot, to Amy's point? And then I guess another question is, who's the best three to have that chemistry and work out? I think this is still a question that needs to be answered, and hopefully they can see it in training. But with Canadian and international football, you only have a certain window to do that. You almost have to have this chemistry pronounced when you come into camp, because it's not enough time to really get the three sorted, or your front three to really go and take care of games.
I think what stands out, at least to me, and I wonder how you feel about this, Amy, it is just bad luck. We were talking off camera, 2022, the championship that acted as a qualifier for the World Cup and for the Olympics. Bev Priestman, head coach at the time, had said, my front three had been solidified. It was Janine Becky, it was Nichelle Prince, it was Deanne Rose. And then we all know Janine Becky goes down with an ACL, Nichelle Prince once again with her Achilles, and then same with Deanne Rose. So boom, injuries. Then you have a Sydney Collins who comes on in, and when they were kind of playing, a different formation, she shocked everybody, especially in the games against Jamaica to qualify for the Olympics. Boom, she goes down with injury. Evelyn Vienne, supposed to be part of this camp, she's out with injury. I mean, I hate to just simplify it, but how much of it as well is just really bad luck and trying to figure out who your top three could be, just who your goal scorers can be.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think when you mentioned those front runners, we haven't really talked about Adriana Leon. Like, this was her year, or the end of 2023, really when those injuries happened. Like, she had her moment and she filled the net as a result. Like, she was the one that Canada was going to rely upon in order to score those crucial goals. But her form seems to have fallen off. So I think the upside to all of this is there is a depth of talent and there is a wealth of talent in Canadian soccer, and we just really have yet to see it. So I think these players will emerge. And you also mentioned like a Chloe Lacasse, who did her ACL, playing for Utah, goes in and comes over from Arsenal, where she didn't see very much playing time, scores a hat trick, seems to be doing really well, and is bitten by the injury bug there as well. So there are opportunities here for these young players to go out there and stake a claim on those spots for sure.
Well, we'll see exactly who Cindy Tai puts out on Tuesday, and if we'll see some more of those young, fresh faces that have been called into this camp. No score between Canada and Iceland. One more to go against South Korea. That game will be right here on One Soccer. That's Amy Walsh. That's Jordan Wilson. I'm Annie Petrillo. On behalf of everyone here, thanks for tuning in. And we will see Canada one more time in 2024 and see if they can end on a winning note against South Korea. See you next time.
Canada's women's national team on One Soccer is brought to you by Toyota.